Hello, everybody. This is Find Your Flourish, and I'm Avrohom, your CEO or Chief Encouragement Officer. Thank you for joining me. You know, I deal a lot, as those who've heard previous podcasts will attest, and anybody who's read my book, Stress Less, Prosper More, will know that I spend a lot of my time teaching and coaching people how to optimize their mindset, how to think in joyful, happy, and positive ways. So there's one thing that has a tremendous impact on our mindset, on our mental health, and it's something you wouldn't necessarily at first think could have an impact, and that is our physical lifestyle. Nothing to do with our mindset or any part of our mental health, just our physical lifestyle. So I have found that there's 5 lifestyle habits that impact your mental health, your anxiety in an outsized proportion to almost anything else that you could do for your mental health. And I've called these 5 things by catchy names that so I could remember them. And so I'll start with the first one. And the first one is I call motion is potion. What does motion is potion mean? Motion is potion is when you're in motion, our bodies were designed to be in motion. And when we put them in motion, we call that exercise or going to the gym. Then our bodies our mood improves. So there's a preponderance of scientific evidence that shows that that if a person exercises regularly, especially with cardio, doing cardio and strength, or a combination of those several times a week, it improves the mood. In some cases, a person's mood can be improved just by doing exercise, equal to taking medication. Of course, if a person needs medication, they should definitely do that, and all exercise should be in consultation with a doctor. But there is a lot of evidence that shows how powerful exercise is. So the first lifestyle habit that I would say can have an outsized impact on your mood and how you feel is motion is potion. So the potion is doing rigorous exercise regularly. The next of the 5 lifestyle habits that can have an outsized impact on your mental health is your food. So I call it food is mood. If you want to be in a good mood, you need good food. So here there's a connection, and increasingly scientists are seeing that there's a connection with our gut biome and our brain and how we think and our anxiety. And so if people eat a lot of prebiotic foods are vegetables, healthy animal fats, things of that nature, and together with that, eat probiotics. So probiotics would be things like sauerkraut, pickles, kombucha tea, things of that nature, which are probiotics. So the combination of those two, prebiotic foods together with probiotic foods, they support healthy gut, your gut health, and that immediately impacts and supports your mood. So one thing that people could do is just changing their diet, and that will change their mood. The other thing, so we've got motion is potion, we've got food is mood. The next thing is connection is protection. And what does that mean? That means the nature, the quality of the relationships that we have with other people can have a huge impact on our mental health. You know that there's a study that shows that when people have had a very traumatic experience, an objectively traumatic experience, like let's say they lost a loved one, something of that, or lost a job. So within 5 years of experiencing a very traumatic experience a traumatic event, the likelihood of a person having a heart attack goes up by 48%. That means a person has a trauma within the next 5 years, they are 48% more likely to have a heart attack than people who have not experienced such major life-altering trauma. Now, those scientists they also discovered that if a person has family and friends and community to support them through their grieving process after the traumatic experience, then they are actually 30% less likely to experience a heart attack in the next 5 years than the general population. So isn't that amazing? Person has a traumatic experience. It increases their likelihood of having a cardiovascular event. That increase in the likelihood of 48% is mitigated, is erased, and in fact, people are 30% healthier from a heart perspective, even if they've suffered a terrible tragedy. Nonetheless, they are 30% less likely to have a heart attack because they have the support of friends, family, loved ones, community. So just having those connections, those important, vital, critical connections that we have to have with other people within our family, within our friendship circle, and within our communities. Just having that. I have a friend, a person actually, coach, and he tells me that his community is his lifesaver. He goes to his community, he's active in the community, they meet regularly, and the fact that he is in this community that supports him and looks after him, this is the greatest joy in his life. So connection is protection. So we got motion is potion, we got food is mood, connection is protection. The next thing is that to dream is to beam. If you want to beam with happiness, you need to dream. So, and that's the quality and the quantity of your sleep. So you should have enough sleep, 7-8 hours a night, and it should be high quality sleep. Sleep is very important for our mental health. There's a very interesting experiment that they did in Minnesota, where in Minnesota they got they made the time for secondary school, for high school. The average time that high schools started in a certain district in Minnesota was 7:30 and 8. And the reason that these high schools started that early or that time was so that they could tier and stagger the buses, so they could use a bus for more than one school, for an elementary school and for the high school. And older kids could take their younger siblings to school and look after them. So there was a number of reasons why school start times were averaging around 7:30. And then they pushed it off to 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And they noticed the following things. They noticed that delinquent behavior was reduced significantly. Accidents driving to and from school were reduced significantly. There was a statistical change, there was a significant change in the grades that kids got. There was a significant change in the amount of children that were falling asleep in class throughout the day. So this prompted the CDC to say that the start time for schools should be 8:30 or 9 o'clock to give teenagers more time to sleep. Unfortunately, 80% of schools do not follow the CDC recommendations on this. Only 20% of schools do start later time. But there is clear evidence that the more sleep we get, the better our mental health is. So here are some tips for sleeping that have been helpful for me. One is called the 3-to-1 rule. The 3-to-1 rule is 3 hours before you go to sleep, you stop eating. Don't eat anything after 3 hours. 2 hours before you go to sleep, you stop thinking about work or the meaning of life or any such thing of that nature, or politics, whatever it is that's going to rile you up. And the third, and then 1 hour before you go to sleep, you don't look at any screens. So that's the 3-to-1 rule. The other thing is that create an environment in your room that is conducive to sleep. So what you want is you want it to be a little bit colder. You don't want it to be too hot. In fact, up to a certain temperature, the colder it gets, the more optimal your sleep is, the deeper that you actually sleep. The second thing is you want your room to be dark. If your room has any light, even from a digital alarm clock, that light will tell your brain that it's the sun rising, and you won't sleep so deeply. So you want a cold room. You want it to be like a cave. You want it to be cold, you want it to be dark, and you want it to be quiet. So if you have to use white noise or earplugs or whatever, do that, but create that cave-like environment to sleep in. Cold, silent, and dark. The final habit that is conducive, lifestyle habit that's conducive for your mental health, is something I call less screen, more serene. And that is, as its name implies, the less we look at screens, the less dopamine is produced, the more calm we are, the more we can really focus on thinking clearly. And so I would highly encourage you that if you want to find your flourish, you do these 5 things. Again, they are: motion is potion, food is mood, protection is connection, dream to beam, less screen, more serene. I hope that you will find your flourish, and I'm looking forward to spending more time with you in the near future. Thank you so much.